That night changed everything. I've never believed in ghosts or paranormal encounters. I always thought those stories were just tricks of the mind, things people imagined in the dark. But there's one night that changed everything for me. One night that made me question everything I thought I knew. It happened a few summers ago. I was staying at my grandparents' old farmhouse, a place miles away from anything remotely close to a city. It's quiet there, so quiet that you can hear the faintest sounds, like the distant chirping of crickets or the occasional rustle of wind through the trees. The air always feels a little heavier at night, the kind of stillness that makes you feel like you're being watched. One evening, I was in my room on the second floor, mindlessly scrolling through my phone, when I heard it for the first time, tap tap tap. At first I thought it was nothing, probably just the wind hitting the window or some random noise from outside. But the tapping continued. It had a rhythm to it, a deliberate kind of sound. Tap tap tap, pause, tap tap tap. Curiosity got the better of me, so I went to the window, pulled back the curtain, and looked out. But there was nothing. No branches close enough to touch the glass. No animals in sight. Just the wide expanse of the yard stretching out to the woods at the edge of the property. And that's when I saw it. There, standing just beyond the tree line, was a figure. At first I thought it was a person, someone from the nearby town maybe. But it wasn't right. The figure was tall, unnaturally tall, and its arms and legs seemed too long for its body. It just stood there, completely still, staring at the house. Staring, I realized, directly at me. My stomach twisted and I quickly dropped the curtain. I tried to brush it off, convincing myself that I was just tired or seeing shadows in the dark, but my heart was racing. I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever it wasn't human. A few minutes later the tapping started again. This time it wasn't coming from the window. It was coming from inside the house. I froze, listening intently. The tapping was slow and deliberate, echoing through the silence of the hallway. I stood up and walked to the door, carefully opening it just a crack. The hallway was dark, but I could hear something. Soft creaks on the floorboards like someone was walking slowly, getting closer. My phone was still in my hand, so I turned on the flashlight and stepped out into the hallway. The light flickered as I pointed it toward the staircase. At first, there was nothing. Just the dark shadows cast by the old wooden banister. But as I took another step closer, my heart pounding in my chest, I saw it. Saw a figure. It was standing at the bottom of the stairs, just beyond the reach of my flashlight. Its outline was human, but wrong. Its arms were too long, its head tilted at an unnatural angle. And those eyes, glowing, faintly red in the dark. I couldn't move, I couldn't even breathe. My mind was racing, telling me to run, but my body wouldn't cooperate. And then, it smiled. Not a friendly smile, but a wide, twisted grin that stretched unnaturally across its face. Its mouth didn't move, but I heard its voice clear as day. "I've been waiting for you." That was it. The flood of fear hit me like a wave, and I turned and ran. I didn't care where I was going as long as it was far from that thing. I slammed the door to my room, locked it, and backed away, my chest heaving as I tried to calm myself down. The tapping had stopped, but the house felt too quiet, like it was holding its breath. I sat in the corner of my room, phone in hand, too afraid to move, listening to the silence. Hours passed, but I didn't hear anything else. I didn't sleep at all that night. The next morning, when the sunlight finally streamed through the window, I went downstairs. I didn't mention what had happened to my grandparents at first. It seemed ridiculous to talk about. Maybe I really had imagined it all. But when I finally worked up the courage to ask them, the reaction was unsettling. They didn't laugh it off like I expected. My grandmother just looked at me with this strange expression, like she knew exactly what I was talking about. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. "We don't talk about what's in the woods." I never asked them about it again, and I never stayed in that house after that summer. But every now and then, I think about that night, and sometimes, when I'm lying in bed, I'll hear that same tap tap tap, like something is reminding me that it's still there, still waiting.